So I'm glad you all showed up tonight. I knew we'd have a full house. I do want to give a thanks to PAC-B TV. Jonah in the back films this, and our programs are put on our website, www.schroeppelhistory.com. We've watched the entire programs. I have a few reminders. I tried to make it brief, but people kept coming up to me, giving me more reminders. But anyway, you probably noticed there's membership forms on the seats. We would really love to add some new members to the organization. We think you could add a lot, and please consider that. The refreshments are provided by our members, and help yourself. If anybody wants to grab something quick while I'm talking, it doesn't really matter. Also, there's a donation jar, and any little bit that you can give really helps to keep up this building. Let's see, we have, what's the one more thing I forgot? Sign sheet. I can't think. Somebody had just whispered something in my ear. And I
Well,
forgot.
tell them about the Phoenix book.
Oh, the Phoenix book. Yeah, these Grips books are 1902. They were written. There's tons of pictures in these books. The people and homes in these books and pictures are identified. So it makes it a lot more interesting. And we had the original book reprinted, and this hardcover book we have on sale for $25, so we still have some left, so if anybody's interested. Okay, so there are 3 additional events coming up. Tuesday, October 21st, our program will be on Hinmanville. And I don't have a title on it yet, but mostly I think what we are attempting to do is give you some history about the Hinmanville area, and also to maybe invite people who lived there, or their ancestors lived there. Maybe they have stories to share with people, and or maybe even some old artifacts of any kind from that area. So I think it would be interesting. We did one or 2 on Pennellville years back, and we got a lot of participation. So that's Tuesday, October 21st. Let's see. Then the next thing is Saturday, November 22nd. It's our annual craft fair, silent auction, bake sale that we do every year. So we hope to see you on that day too. And then in November, we always have an annual membership meeting. And so we'll be voting on outgoing board members for new board members, etc. So any members welcome to come and vote to that. So, and that's, I think, all my reminders, right? So tonight's program is presented by our historian, Barbara Dix. Most all of you know her. And the topic is the Phoenix Fire, which you know, of course, and she's the expert. I'm not talking anymore. So thank you.
Am I turned on?
It was on.
Can you hear me?
Oh, from this?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not a projection microphone, that just goes into the
That's what I
camera.
wondered. Okay, I gotcha. I want to tell you first of all that we have a member here who's great at setting up titles like this, pictures, setting up your program for you, and he loves to do it. And it's Keith Conroy right down here in the front. He's done programs himself, so he knows exactly what it takes to set something up like this. And he just loves to help someone else who doesn't know as much as he does. The first thing that I wanted to remember and made myself remember about the fire was the date, because I always was getting around that date, but didn't necessarily always tell you the right date. But it was September 23rd, 1916, and it was about 10:30 at night that the fire was discovered. Probably started a little bit before then. This is a picture that I've seen for years of looking over the village of Phoenix, and this was before the fire. The thing I can't, now maybe Danny you know, the thing I can't identify is that little tower in the center. What was that, Dan? Do you know?
The pointed hat.
Yeah.
That was a cupola above, I believe, above the Duffy Silk Mill.
Duffy Silk Mill.
Above that, yes. There's a cupola on top. If you look at some of the other village pictures, it will show it.
Tell me when you see it again.
I have a question, where is this taken from?
From the island, I'm sorry.
From the island, I assume that's the Congregational Church on the left?
You would wonder where it was taken from, because it's taken from up so high at
Well, and I
that
was not around to see any of that stuff.
time. I just can't imagine myself how it was taken. Really, or where it was
She
taken
says
from.
that I so
I wasn't here either, but that's the kind of.
Yeah, but I mean getting so high to be able to take that view.
They're on, if you look at the pictures of the, I don't even have one in the book. If you look at the picture across, before the fire, it shows the cupola on top of the factory, and it says right across the Duffy.
But I'm saying, where was it, the guy standing who took this picture?
On the roof, I would assume on the roof, back side of the building.
Paper mills across the river.
Well, that's a
How tall were some of
thought.
the mills?
That's
Three
a,
stories.
what?
How tall were some of the mills on the island? 3, 4?
3 or 4 stories tall, and I think the silk mill was the tallest.
That would give someone this kind of a sightline.
Or it could be the top, part of it.
Well, anyhow, it's a great picture. Before the fire, this is what the Baptist church looked like. Doesn't look like that at all anymore. And I didn't realize until I was doing this program that this Baptist church burned as fully as it did. Because the story I was told was, people took their furniture there because they thought it had a tile roof, a stone roof, and they'd save their furniture that way. But then the roof caught fire, and we looked at this roof, and it does look like a tile roof, but it apparently was not stone tile; it was asphalt tile, or some other kind of tile at that time. So the roof, the steeple clock first, that was very tall and got one of those fiery brands, and it caught in that hole. Well, I'll show you pictures of it. This was Bridge and State Street running across the bottom, bridge going up that way. That was the corner drugstore, which is not the corner drugstore any of us that remember it remember, because that's 3 stories tall. The one I remember was only 2 stories tall. That was the new one. This side was the bank, the post office, and then all houses up the street, which we never saw in our lifetime, any of us, because they burned. But anyhow, that was, I think, 1911, and it was like a Memorial Day parade or gathering. This is on State Street, right from the corner drugstore, looking north, back up across where the Lock Street would have crossed the bridge, and then straight on up State Street. And you can see those are all 3- and 4-story buildings. They look like they're brick, but they're wood framed. So the brick doesn't save them when they're wood framed.
South, looking south, yes.
Yeah, no, yes, south, I'm sorry, did I say north?
You would be looking towards Temple Park.
Yeah, it's looking towards my house, it's looking south. And this one's looking north. And the Howard House is here on the left. That was a big hotel downtown. And this was taken before the Howard House on this end that you can see just to the left on the left of the picture had porches all the way up it before they were done, before the fire. But the porches weren't there at this time. And you again can see that those are all pretty substantial buildings, and they go all the way back down, way down at the end of the street. You can see, to me it's like busy stuff going on. That was where Loomis Lumber was, and Loomis Lumber wasn't just a lumber company. They did a lot of manufacturing of things as well, so it was more than what I recall as being just a lumber company that sold maybe windows built, but nothing else that was already built. And this is I think probably this is the east side of State Street, just behind where that great big black building that's left down there now used to be the red and white at one time. And this, long before that, would have stood on the parking lot back behind that, I think. Because there was always the granite and marble place there. It became a smaller building later on because it wasn't as important as it was at this time. But the people always owned that lot, and it was always there. And there's a trolley coming south on State Street, my goodness, on State Street. And this first dark building is what was known probably for most of its life as Russ's store. It was almost always a store of some kind. Across there you see the Phoenix House that had porches on the side towards the bridge. You could see the double porches there. Across the street is where you would have seen that granite company. And this is probably around 1911 too. I've got three of these. This is not the Phoenix fire. This is a fire. The Phoenix House burned at least 3 times in its lifetime.
Wow.
And this is one of the times that it burned, and I think that's when it lost its 3rd floor. What? 1921. Yeah, it looks like it was 1921. This is back, same fire. And this is from the other side.
Wow. And this was located where?
You know where the big black building is? I said was the red and white. Right across the street from that.
Oh, okay.
And in our time, it was at the end of the bridge. The Phoenix House was always right there at the end of the bridge. Because that's where our bridge crossed at that time. Yeah. And there's another trolley picture. You again can see Russ's store there. That was quite a substantial store, and it was one of the earlier buildings in the village. But it stood there until the 1930s.
Where did the trolley go? Where did it run?
Well, it came from Syracuse to Oswego. It was called the Syracuse and Oswego. Yeah, Syracuse and Lakeshore. And it came from Syracuse on the other side of the river. Behind my house on State Street, just 3 blocks south of here, It crossed, and if you look up the river when you're down on State Street, you can see the stone, I forget what they call it, abutments that held the bridge. And it was a metal bridge, and just before the war, 1939, they cut it down and supposedly sold it to Japan for scrap. Then we got it back later on as bullets and bombs. But that Russ's store was really, I never saw it because it was gone before my time. I think in fact it was 1934 when I was born that it was taken down. And but the house across the street on the left side of the picture here, that's still there and it looks just like it did then. It's about 4 stories, but because it's built into the hill, they dug the hill out and built it into the hill, and so it's got a much lower, ground level, and then it's got a whole 2-story house above it.
Yeah, that store was also the
Trolley station, yeah, you got your ticket there. Yeah, we were really lucky to have that running right down through our, and the reason was, Phoenix was important because trolleys were only 1 or 2 trains, they weren't like our railroad trains, and you had to run them on a strict schedule. The only place they could pass each other were in places like Phoenix, because we had 2 rails there. It divided up someplace, I don't know where, but when you see the pictures of the street, it's got 2 rails there, and they could pass in Phoenix. So if one was going one way and one was going the other, and it wasn't. Same amount of people lived here. Well, because at that time we were pretty self-sufficient. We had industry, we had commerce, which we don't have anymore. Fired up that. Oh, from the top. We put that on yesterday, but I didn't even remember.
There you go. There it is.
There's the silk mill.
The picture was taken on that cupola at the top on the picture that I had. It was a silk.
But I still don't see that, which is
The
fair.
cupola thing is over toward the canal itself, because you gotta go across.
It must be
It
hidden.
looks like the schoolhouse windows down there.
Yeah.
Beyond that, you can see a corner of the chimney, but that's where it was taken from. It's up off that cupola on top of the silk mill.
All those windows that you're talking about, that was because there was, when these were built, there was no electric light system particularly, because these were built before 1887, and we had lights in 1887. But when you had people working, you had to have lights for them to work. And so all of these factories are built like that with many, many windows. And speaking about the silk, I got to wondering about that one time when I was looking up something. And there was a fast silk train that came across the northern part of the United States because silk was so valuable. They got it from the west coast to the east coast as fast as they could. Every other train got off the track and let that silk train go on through. And I wondered too about what kind of, where was the silk taken out of the cocoon and where was it, how did we get it? I guess we got it as thread when it got here, and we did the dyeing and the twisting maybe. We didn't make fabric, so it was something to do with that silk being made into thread that we were doing. Many women in town especially worked in that silk factory, but I've never heard anybody tell what they did in the silk factory or what they were making in the silk factory.
One other thing, Barb, with that, the whole building ended up as rubble, and when they went in afterwards, with people come down from Syracuse to check on the silk
the silk was in metal cans, they said.
And the whole building was destroyed except for the silk, the safe itself or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. And they were really surprised.
Yeah, really, they were. This is between Bridge Street and Culvert Street. It all was Loomis lumber. And this is part of that scene. Those are all Loomis Lumber Company buildings. It's hard to imagine because we knew Loomis Lumber as one building with sheds out the back. That's the Howard House on the right. You can see the porch on the side of it. Moyer Brothers Hardware here is in the wooden building. And then the Spencer store, which was a sort of a department store. And this was before the fire. None of us here ever saw it like that, ever. And I'm not sure exactly where the bridge enters into this. The Phoenix Hotel must be at least in there someplace to the left. But I can't quite make out exactly.
I think there was a couple smaller stores in there, and I believe I think the one on the left here, all the way over, is that the one where they made the coffins and they did the funeral stuff out of that building? And I think it's the one on the left right there. And then there was an open space like there is today between where Larkin's was and the laundromat before you get to the bridge. Because you say the fire was.
Well, because there was the hotel, and then there was a little tiny building a little wooden building next to the hotel too. So there must be more space there. But it doesn't seem to me in my mind that there would have been that much space, but there had to have been. The Phoenix Bank and Post Office on the left, the three-story drugstore on the right, and Dick Keller owned that, and some of us here knew Dick Keller, but he was a young man, came here around 1900, and he ran that drugstore there. He never owned the building. The Rebeccas, who were the female part of the Oddfellows, IOOF Oddfellows, owned that building right up until the time it was destroyed. Everybody thought that the Oddfellows only rented the upstairs hall, but that wasn't true. The Rebeccas owned it, and Dick Keller rented it the whole time that he had the drugstore there, 50 years that he had the drugstore there.
Wow.
And you can see beyond the bank that there are houses up that street that burned in the fire. And it's quite empty here behind the drugstore. It looks like there may be one smaller building that's set back a little bit, and then another brick building.
There was a wooden building back in there. That was the old Congregational Church.
The old what?
Congregational Church, the old wooden one.
Downtown?
Yeah, it was moved there.
Oh.
And Hakes and Amazon had it for storage of their hearses.
Okay, that's good to know.
They tore that down the year before the Phoenix fire and had a decade of a time tearing it down. Because it was all packed together by my great-grandfather.
Really, back together, wonderful. And you can see, too, that there are young trees growing up the street, pretty close together, actually. And when you see other pictures of the street in other directions, there's trees on the street. And after the fire, that was one of the things. There were two things that people missed the most: the trees and the height of the buildings, because the buildings were never as high again as they had been. Okay, there's the Howard House again. Here on the left, you can see their porches. And it doesn't look to me like that's the same Moyers that we saw in the last picture, but it looked like it was very close to the Howard Hotel. So something's changed there. But you can see the trees on the street. And you'll notice too, there's also lots of electrical wires. And as a kid, and even until probably the 60s, I can remember that it was all wires up overhead with telephone poles. We had poles on the street. We don't have that anymore. This is a picture of the back of the island, the silk mill there. And, oh, there's that tower, Danny.
And down to the right of the telephone pole.
Yeah, so it's not the silk mill.
No, the silk mill is the big one back here.
Yeah.
With the thing on top of the cupola. And then you can look back across and you see, looks like the Christmas tree on the right.
Yeah,
Next to that tall smokestack.
but I wonder what it was.
I have a picture somewhere, and I don't know if it's in this book or not, that tells what building it's on.
And you see these cave-like looking places under the buildings, that was for water to exit or enter. They had the canal went through between the island and the village. But there was also a side canal, a feeder canal that fed the water into all the different businesses. And Sweets owned what they called the riparian rights, the water rights to that canal, the Sweet family. And after the fire, he fought with these companies, especially the silk mill, over the water rights. And the silk mill, who definitely, they were probably insured more than anybody, and they were definitely coming back, they gave up. And he died in 29, I think, and that court case wasn't settled until the 30s. So because he wouldn't settle with the water, it kept a lot of people from coming back and building anything. If you didn't have the right to the water, you didn't build. These were the gals who operated the telephone. They were the telephone operators. And they were in a building downtown, and they stayed right there until it was so dangerous for them to stay there that they left and went away from the fire area. But they were considered heroines of this fire. Let's see, Pierce, Mrs. Daisy Pierce, Miss Nellie Irwin, Mrs. E.M.D. Miller, and Miss Ruth Corey. So here's another picture of part of the Loomis Company. It was a big place. This is the back of this is a canal after it had been, so this has to be after probably 1904. When it became the barge canal and was all enlarged, deepened, widened, and better walls put in. But the buildings are the same as they were. They haven't changed. There's been no fire yet. And they used to deliver stuff behind the buildings, so that road is a road behind the buildings. Before the barge canal, they had a lot of stuff delivered off from the canal. But in the times when the barge canal was enlarged, by that time they were trucking things, and so it was easier to truck it in than it was. It wasn't cheaper, it was more expensive, but I think the cheapest way is always the way by the water.
Islands on the left.
Yeah. This is looking north. I think this is just, maybe this is the same picture that we saw before of looking north on State Street, and that's the Howard House. That is the Howard House. You can see that it was a pretty substantial hotel. And the name Dingman, you'll probably hear that in the Henmanville talk in October. But Dingman, I think were Henmanville people, but at least one or two of them became hotel people up here in Phoenix and managed several different hotels here in Phoenix. We had at least 3 hotels most of the time.
There's a band playing down there, right?
Oh yes, we discovered that yesterday. I said to Keith, what's your name? Keith. I said to Keith, why are all those people standing around? What are they doing? And then we got to looking, and these guys up here have hats on, and I can see one with a trombone over his shoulder, and that's a band standing playing in the street, so that's why the guys are out there listening. Now these were given to me by a man whose family had come from here, and they had these pictures of Phoenix, and I'd never seen them before. And they aren't all labeled, but there's a banner across the street on the right-hand side, and it says Hopkins on it. It's probably an electioneer banner, I don't know. And it says wallpaper down here. But other than that, how would you identify anything as Phoenix if he hadn't told me? It's got bordered sidewalks, quite wide.
Yeah.
And look at the street, it just looks like the Wild West.
Yeah. Did he tell, do we have any idea what the year was on these?
I think they were labeled, and I didn't take the time to try and find where I had the pictures to find the labels. But there, again, you can see the boardwalk there. Big windows, so you can display things in the windows.
I'll get with you on those, Mark, because I think there's a couple of those that were in those steel
Oh, really?
photos that I told you about.
Oh, okay, good.
It's got their names.
And this one, I think, it looks back, I think maybe it looks south back towards my house, I'm not sure. Great big elm tree there. And this is a picture that probably you've seen if you've looked at the grips. This is the Fox Saloon on the right and his house on the left. And that's his sign, the dead tree with the barrel on it. Fox's Saloon. And always had a group of men sitting out front of it, apparently. And that's where the stagecoach left from, I think. Because we've got a picture of it someplace that, with a stagecoach there in front of it. And I looked at this and I guess maybe it kind of looks like the corner drugstore, but it doesn't exactly. I'm not sure. It's kind of interesting. You look at those arched windows there down there. Yeah. Nice buildings. And that's the Howard House again. That was the early Howard House. I think it was very early. And that may be more Moyer Brothers there. I don't know. There's the Hopkins sign up there. Again, the Howard House, looking further down the street. What, north, I guess. A few years ago, we had the grandson of Charles Fuller stop here and was asking about. He didn't really think we'd know much about his family, but we did. We had pictures and stuff. Here's one of the pictures. This was a GAR Civil War veterans reunion, and their band is there, and apparently they'd had a parade. Maybe this is the end of it, I don't know. And I think that building on the left with the supports under it, isn't that Moyer's, Gail? I think it is. See, you can see the two tracks there. And the trolley was a great thing. It was wonderful because there were 12 cars a day that went between Syracuse and Oswego. And so, you know, if you wanted to go and get groceries and come right back, it was really very easy to do, except you had to carry it in your arms. And we were really lucky to have it. But you know, when the car manufacturers started manufacturing cars, they deliberately put the trolleys out of business. There was a group of them that got together and they had ways to put the trolleys out of business. And I remember the house next door to me, the trolley crossed right behind my house and made an exact right-hand turn and started down towards downtown. And the house next to me always had the raised trolley bed in their backyard. I mean, it was a lawn, but you could see it was a trolley bed, and mine was partly the bank of the trolley. And when they sold their house, they found out that that trolley bed had never been sold. They went bankrupt. I don't know who it went to when they went bankrupt, to a bank or something. Nothing was ever settled. So when the people living next to me sold their house, they had to jump through a few loops to be able to sell their house, to get back to that deed at that time and get it all done. That was...
These are electric trolleys, aren't they?
Oh yes, oh yes. There's another trolley right by the drugstore. My grandmother-in-law told me that she used to take her 3 little kids and go on the trolley to Fulton to get groceries and then come back again. And she said it was so easy to do. And they even had heat on them in the wintertime.
Wow.
This is the Windsor House, which was the great big hotel right up here where the fire barn is now. And the Windsor House was the hotel, and then next to it were the hotel barns. And they used to hold their graduations in the upper floor of the hotel barns, and they said in June it was pretty fragrant when they had their graduation, because they were right over the stairs. This is building the barge canal.
This was about 1911.
I think so, yeah.
That's when the dam was built. That's when they built the
Yeah.
canal.
They had a coffer dam up towards my house in that direction, and kept most of the water out and did all this building. That was really, it was all handwork. They didn't have any machinery to do all this stuff. All the metal here in the front. And I like the cobblestone wall there.
Yeah.
I don't really, can you tell where that is, Danny? I couldn't make an identification of it.
Go around the factory side, so.
I think so, yeah.
You can see all the motors and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
It may be right on the island, yeah. Oh, I just wanted this because that's the city of Fulton there, loaded up with a lot of people, probably going on an excursion. And I believe that was built by Henley right here, the city of Fulton.
Yeah.
I think it was owned by a Burley.
What?
I think it was owned by a Burley, wasn't it?
A girl.
Yes, yeah, Burley owned it, yes. There's the Baptist church after the fire. Totally, totally. But they were lucky. That was the only one that went further than this block, and it didn't catch a house on either side. They were able to save the houses.
Was every built just the same?
No, I can't look at it and tell you what's different.
Pretty much, because I had when Bob Bowman and his crew were redoing these apartments, he called me up one day and wanted me to come up, and on one of the windowsills he was working on was all charred, and he cut this section of windowsill out, and I don't have any place to put all this stuff, but they will all be here someday, but
Warn us.
I got that and I used it as a display at the down at the canal, and they have the canal days.
Well, I went over there too at that same time, and I got down on my hands and knees and looked through the cellar window, and you could see all the burned timbers.
Yeah, he was showing me that, and then he cut me off about a 2-foot piece of windowsill, and it's pretty much they took, I think, the top of the steeple off the pointing part, and pretty much left everything else, and then worked on the inside. It took a lot of.
It seemed to me somehow they changed the entrance.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
I can't tell from this what the entrance was even. Can you? I can't see where you enter that building. I don't see any steps anyplace or.
I don't know if we're looking at the back and the front.
We're looking at the front.
We're looking at
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There may be another one. We'll see. No. Danny, and you too, Keith. Look at down in the corner there. That is backwards. That picture is backwards. That's why you can't make any sense of it. It's been developed wrong. It was developed from a postcard, but it's the negative. It's a negative look. It's not the. There it is. Okay. That entrance doesn't look quite right to me. I can't figure out what it is. But it certainly was destroyed, probably as totally as anything downtown. And how they got it built up, you know, just one little church like that, it takes a lot of money to do that. They really must have worked very hard. I think that's Stella Murgatroyd's pump right there.
Yeah, behind the Masonic up in there.
What?
Right up by the, back in where the Masonic temple is.
Yeah,
Wilcox.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Stella Wilcox,
Yeah,
yeah.
Stella's house is this way, and it's looking down at the Green Ridge.
Yep. And I've got some other pictures, and I don't have them here, there must be someplace else, that a man named Pomeroy married a girl named Patrick who lived in Stella Wilcox's house, the big white house there in the corner with the tower on the top. and he took pictures. And I think he got up in the tower there of that, and he took beautiful pictures down on this. They're different than anything I have here now, and I don't know where I've got these other pictures, but
Is that a drawbridge or is that a bridge?
that's a drawbridge to the island.
Oh, to the island.
That's the one they just took out not too long ago, the Green Bridge.
Yeah, and it still sits on it now.
Yeah, they set it way on the
Set it
back.
over there.
Yeah.
They were two, one a culvert and one a bridge back in the day.
I think the other one is blocked by this ruin here. Yeah, there's the, what do you call those dams there?
The raceway?
Yeah, no, way up to the right.
Oh, the bridge?
Oh, the floodgates.
Floodgates, I couldn't think of what,
Floodgates and the bridge, and then this was the raceway for the
yeah,
water canal. For
Yeah.
the power.
yep. And then for a long time, those tall smokestacks stood there, not being used or anything, but they needed to get the money and the people to take it down. There's the Howard House. And the Congregational Church Tower up there. And the electrician up there undoing the wires. They're not. It was really devastated. And they said that the trolley said that there were 30,000 people came out by trolley the next day. And they said that the cars were lined up from here to Moyer's Corners. There were so many people because they heard how bad it was.
What started the fire?
Oh, okay, I never did tell you that. It was in the Sinclair Chair Factory, which was full of wood, sawdust, shavings,
Yeah.
and it had this electrical, I don't know what it was. And what they said was that a journal quit. And we looked up a journal and we found out that it was, what, a dynamo?
I don't think we got any for during
Well, it was a part of machinery and it hadn't worked right. And because it wasn't working right, it was sparking. And the sparks had lots of places to land on to start a fire. And they said, it seems like it was like 7 minutes after they were told somebody had reported it, they got there and it was totally aflame. You found something?
When you're done, I can get into the
Okay.
book. It's got the journal box or something overheated, and it was discovered by the security guard and the paper mill on the west side.
Yes,
Because
yes.
these guys had all left on
That's
break.
yeah, that's right.
What's a journal box?
You're not an electrician. Got one in the house. But they're like, I mean, it tells in here exactly what it was and what started. It's from underwriters and it tells what started. So when she gets done, I'll look it up, but I don't want to get in the middle of it.
Right. Did anybody die in the fire?
Yes.
Yes.
Did anybody what?
Die in the fire?
One man.
Yeah.
He was in the Parker feed mill. He lived upstairs over the Parker feed mill, or feed mill, and that was down close to the bridge. And he was the person who had invented what they call the chainless bicycle, and I don't know what that means. But anyhow, he got out, and then he went back in to get his bicycle. And another man went in to try to get him and found him in the smoke and fire and tried to get him out, but he was getting his lungs were so bad he had to let him go and come out, and then another man still tried to run into the fire, but it was too hot. They couldn't save him, but it was just the one.
Was that feed mill on the corner that was rebuilt, corner of Lockheed?
No, there were three feed mills. I think one of them was the old red mill that wasn't working on the island.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah,
He was in the one where the electric substation is now.
yeah.
That's where the guy died, and that building,
Yeah.
So I just looked up AI, tells me that in a sawmill, a journal box is a bearing casing that supports a rotating shaft such as those on a log carriage. It is a critical mechanical component that houses the bearings for the axle, allowing the carriage to roll smoothly and precisely.
That's exactly what they said, a journal had. Anybody locate anything here that you know where this is? I mean, we know this.
I think this is another one of the shots you just talked about.
Yeah.
That he was taking the pictures out of the house down.
Well, there's the pump of Mrs. Wilcox.
Yeah, because see, you're looking across, you're looking at the right behind that big dead tree is the water tower. It's across from Neil's place right now, over by the, on the west side. You see it?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then to the right is one of the big stacks for one of the mills, and then you got your other bridge, your
Yep.
green bridge here, and then further down is the other green bridge.
yep. And there's Stella's pump.
And all that's left now over there, the water tower is just the base that's on the ground there.
Yeah.
Things-
All I see here is a great big fireplace right in the middle. I don't know where it is exactly.
For some reason I thought I had, that reminded me of the Hawks house. Wasn't there a Hawks house that burned in fire?
Yes, there was.
Yeah, there was Hawks, and there was.
Hawks was right across the
Doc's Brewery.
Hawks was right across the street from the Baptist church.
Okay. Yes, and then the brewery was down, I think, on Bridge Street between, in that row of houses.
Okay, and Drury was the doctor,
Between State and Main,
and
on the north side.
and E.J. Drury was the doctor,
Yep.
and he injured his arm. He had a ladder trying to get the stuff out of his house, and the ladder broke, and he injured his arm. Some of these you just look at and just wonder exactly where they were. There's another one here with the,
This here, I believe, is part of the Windsor Hotel, Opera House and Stable.
okay, it could, yeah. That must have, in reality, in real life, that really must have looked strange. It's, yeah, it's like you saw after World War II.
Yeah.
It was so fast.
But I think right in the middle, isn't it the control house for the dam?
I think it is, yeah.
It's still there.
Why do you think the bridge was up?
They kept it up.
Did they put it, because I would think they would use that to get over a bit of space during the fire.
The electricity had gone by then.
So they had it up, and what if that's
And
slowed them down getting back and forth?
yeah, it seems to me they kept it up anyhow a lot of the time, just because they didn't want traffic over it, over onto the island, I guess. And but once that control, all the electrical control in the chair factory got caught up, and the water as well wouldn't work. They couldn't pump anything because they didn't have any electricity there. That was really bad news.
I know they used to keep it up in our time, but it was
Yeah,
usually.
yeah, I think they did it then.
For the same reason.
It was like a chain of events when it started with in the chair factory, and then other motors tried to take over, and they burn out, and then as progressively got down to the main powerhouse on the island, which also supplied power to the village water system.
Yeah,
And the fire department they had a hand-drawn ladder truck and 2 hand-drawn hose carts. They needed the hydrant water, and the hydrant water was gone now, and underwriters found fault with the understaffed, undermanned, under everything.
well, one of the
Fire
news.
department and stuff, and
One of the newspapers showed pictures of this antiquated equipment and said they might as well not have had this. And that was the truth.
And then they had the mutual aid come up. I don't know if you got that covered, but they had mutual aid. They called in immediately. The first 2 here was the city of Syracuse, engine 3, horse-drawn, came in by train, and then Baldwinsville came over. They were the first 2 here, and then assist Phoenix. In fact, we always laugh because Syracuse saved the Phoenix Hotel. Everything else was burned, but they saved the booze joint. And then Fulton wanted to come and told me out here with a brand new engine, never been used, and it came up on the back of the Chief's Model A
Right.
because they didn't have any other way to transport it. They got up here and they couldn't get it to run, so they sat parked all the time and assisted with their manpower. And then the Sweegle was coming, and they got waylaid because on Emory Street, some guy jumped on the train to come see the fire and got run over.
Yeah, he was killed.
Yeah, so that held them up for a few minutes.
Well, Syracuse got held up too because when you went into Syracuse when I was a kid, Will and Balmer Candle Company stood on the left, and there was a curb there in the track, and they had some kind of, the newspaper was telling us, I can't picture it in my mind, so it's hard to explain, but they had trouble getting around that corner with the train that was coming to help us at Phoenix, but they finally, they got here.
It was just a sad events.
This is some of the crowds that were, and I don't know if it's smoke or fog or misty or what it is. Bad picture.
I think it's smoke because about 7:30 in the morning, it's all over.
Yeah, they said that it was smoldering. Most people were walking through. There's the 2 bridges up.
It's really a wonder that only one person died.
It is.
And as fast as they move, when the hotels and a lot of people lived in the area that was devastated.
Yeah. A lot of people lived in hotels back then.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we got this out of. Should have been with the first part. But this is the bank, the post office, and then starting the houses and starting Loomis Lumber right behind the bank.
Barb, can you go back for a second? Is the post office in the same building as the bank? It was, okay. Sorry. They caused me to laugh. Yes. Okay, I didn't know the post office was there. Yes.
And after the fire, the post office was, I think I've got a picture of it, but it was on State Street to the right of the corner drugstore where the parking lot is now. They set up a wooden post office. See the trees all burned. That's a wide angle picture of the whole scene. And you can see there's not much standing there.
Are there any pictures known to exist of the fire while it was happening?
Not that I'm aware of. Are you, Danny?
Not that I'm aware of.
I can't even think of seeing any in the newspaper.
I have,
I don't know if there's a newspaper I think they sold out of all the newspapers, and I don't know if anybody has a newspaper that I've got one for the 29th, but for that day or the next, I don't know if anybody's got one.
We didn't have cell phones
I love this picture. Isn't that something? Gotta clear the tracks. I think it's the post office on the far right there. That had been the temporary post office afterwards. So this is, I think, a year later. So it's amazing how much they had up in a year, I think.
This is Bridge Street, right?
It could be, I don't know. I really don't know what street it is. It's hard to tell without any.
You told me the other day it was the, I can't think of the name, there was another hardware store at Bridge.
I think that's a different one.
How much are for work?
This is the last store that's now, I don't know, financial something or other.
that's the end where Victory is.
Yeah.
When you look down, because the A&P store, and I get more arguments with people, with that, the A&P store, I was told, was never up at that end.
It says,
The A&P store-
it says Atlantic and Pacific on the top.
Yeah, and then they moved down to where, like where Larkins is in there, because they wanted more room. And people said, oh, it was never there.
Well, it
And
was.
I looked at it and I said, there's the Green Bridge, and the picture I have has on the end where you see the Green Bridge, and there's also a little one that Bailey Williams.
Yes.
His haircuts in.
Yeah, that got taken down after a while.
It's a one-story building that he had.
Yeah, but it wasn't there in this picture, and then it was there after that, and then it was taken, it's not there now. Yeah,
The mural's there now. on the side.
yeah, right.
But that's,
for barber shop.
It looks like it's pretty deep next to the barber shop there. Looks like,
there's a picture there of the A&P itself.
okay, good.
So I mean, when they get done, and anybody wants to see them.
Yeah, Danny has a lot of pictures that he'll put out that you can take turns looking at.
Trying to find, I know I have one that had fire burn in it too.
Whoops.
There.
And this must have been, because it's got the cross on it, I would suspect people could get help there for either monetarily or if they needed help medically or whatever. The holes. That's pretty good building, I think, in a year. This is the barber shop that you just saw, then the A&P, and then all the way up to the bridge. This emptiness at the end of this building is where the liquor store is now. This is the bank. You can see the steam engine here, which is how they got power on jobs like this back then. It was steam. What?
Is that building something they're moving?
I think it's just there up on piers temporarily, I don't know. I think the further end, my uncle, great uncle, had his barber shop in there. His barber shop was burned out. And I think he was in there. This is the corner drugstore. You can see this was done with steel. And all the building materials for it is piled up next door.
How soon do they have that State Street park rebuilt? In a year or two?
Pretty much, yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, they put it for the winter, and they had to board up stuff quick.
They what?
These here, they put these up like a temporary type of situation, because they were getting close to winter.
Yeah.
So to get some stuff back in here, get the village line, getting going again, a lot of small places went up that were replaced in about a year and a half. That's when they put more brick buildings back up and stuff like that.
And some of these first buildings, substantial buildings here, still have the names of who built them on the top. It's made right on the top of the building. I think one says a Spencer store. I can't remember what the other ones are. Probably it wasn't Vickery. He didn't do it.
Microphone, please.
I love this. The old guy sitting there. They probably. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to put it. Sitting there, he's probably a Civil War veteran. What?
It says post.
Yes,
I
yeah.
think a couple of these were down on there's 2 or 3 good ones that were rebuilt, they had upholstery and stuff like that in it, down on Culver Street on the north side of Culver. There was some part of Lewis's property,
Yeah,
and they put them in there, and they were down the hill from the shop right now.
I see. Now Danny's got some things he wants to say. That's all right, my feet don't work right. I forgot there was a step there. Yes, you do. People want to hear what you're saying. And you've got your head down looking at your pictures. No, there's the place right over here. Oh, thank you.
We had a question here, where did they put all the debris? I mean,
Well, I'll tell you. Right now, I was going to go and look. Danny, do you know? Behind the medical center, I believe there's part of a wall yet that was part of that original village. Right behind the medical center, isn't there?
Yeah, they were trying the library once.
Say again?
They're still up by Chris McGilvery's, between this past where they put the house in there from Mosey's.
Oh, yeah, across from
That was
there.
all swamp, and that suddenly became a house. And
Really?
yeah, and then some of the stuff went into holes and didn't have cellars anymore. And some of it went west up Bridge Street, and that got mixed with stuff from the ice ponds. And of course, there's nobody around it.
times that we've had to cut some of that floor out and pour concrete under those big milliners and stuff in there. It would shake so much, it would settle down in when you take that concrete out and fall back on the back.
Yeah.
Finally, we ended up pumping concrete under there to repair the bottom.
I imagine under the medical center too, there's,
Any place in the park, Vickery Park in downtown is, we tried, when I worked for the village, and we tried digging and to put some light poles and stuff in there, and it was impossible
yeah.
because of that. But if anybody wanted to see what Barbara was talking about with the amount of stuff in the chair factory, there's one of the pictures that I have of the chair factory. I'll have the book up here, but that's the chair factory where the fire started. Yes, and I was really surprised. I was really surprised because I talked to Brostek, and he said he still sees Phoenix chairs up at Austin. I mean, that's something. I mean, this thing burned in 1916, and they're still selling chairs.
They were hardwood to begin with. And there's one up here that's got a sign on it you can look at afterwards. And sometimes they're marked underneath the seat, and sometimes they're marked on a rung down below. And it's a stamp right into the wood.
I'll have the book up there for anybody who wants to see it, but I've got the clippings and stuff like that from the newspapers, and I know I had this picture, it was the one picture with showing the flames, and I know I got it. Yeah. I need that one to stay. No, I need the one to stay. Go in the back there. Yes. This one? Yeah. I don't have my glasses on. But this was found, and I was told that they found it and I could have it, but I didn't know where I got it. It's the official confidential fire report from the underwriters back in the week after the fire. And what I said to Barb, if she wanted to hear it, the most important thing is the back page or two. I will in a minute, maybe. I'm just trying to see what I need. It tells all this, I'm trying to find where the report was, the summary.
It must be at the end.
Don't get old. I told Barbara, go ahead and read the summary, whatever the summary is, and I'll have the summary come out to take a look. That was a very good job.
I don't know if I need a microphone. No. Fire started first story of 2.5-story wing of the Sinclair Chair Company's mill, located over bank of river as the island which contained bulk of mill district with a well-known conflagration hazard and existent. Duration of fire, approximately 7 hours. Amount of water used on fire, approximately 175,000 gallons by direct hose strings and sprinkler, and approximately 375,000 gallons by fire engines, total of 550,000 gallons. Extent of fire and number of buildings or plants burnt. The burnt area comprises roughly 4 town blocks and is bounded on the west by the Oswego River, on the north by Culvert Street, on the east by the Main Street, and on the south by Lock Street. The number of buildings or plants burnt totals 66.
There's 80 businesses, by the way.
Yeah, right.
66 buildings, 80 businesses.
Yep.
Number of buildings sprinklered, 5. Auto sprinklers, a factor number, old obsolete systems. Oh, auto sprinklers a factor, question mark. Number of old obsolete systems in all buildings except 1. System in Sinclair building shut off at time fire started. General lack of water pressure for sprinklers. Character of buildings in which fire started: 3-story frame, very light construction, unprotected floor openings, occupied by inflammable materials, viz. Lumber, I don't know what that means. Lumber, chairs, and parts, very unsafe electrical hazard. No automatic fire protection, no alarm service. In short, all the conditions were favorable for starting a conflagration, except area of building was small, height, moderate. Cause of fire, a 22,000 volt G generator left running without attendance. Fire started either from wiring of this generator, which was very defective, or a burn out in the generator itself, or hot bearing. Primary contributing causes: first, lack of automatic fire protection in the Sinclair building sprinklers shut off. Second, lack of safeguards for the most important unit in the public fire defense system, namely the principal fire pump. Third, the general glaring weakness of the entire public firefighting system.
It improved later. Andy's not that old.
Some of the more important weaknesses were poor location of main pump station, utterly utterly inadequate pumping capacity, limitation of pump pressure, even with SP shutoff not over 80 pounds, was obtainable on account of type of principal pump, 2-phase centrifugal of an old type, insufficient standpipe elevation and capacity, inadequate capacity of force mains, as shown by a test recorded by the Underwriters Association of New York State and made from hydrant in the Mill District. Test 600 gallon flowing, reduced hydrant pressure from 55 pounds normal to 20 pounds flowing pressure. Hydrant pressure, oh sorry, I just read that. Allowing 7 pounds friction loss per length of hose, this would give 13 pounds nozzle pressure with 50 foot of hose, and but 6 pounds with 100 foot of hose. This together with large number of sprinklers operating accounts for practically entire loss of pressure during fire when pump went out of service. Fourth cause, utterly inadequate fire department apparatus. Utterly inadequate. Fifth, lack of good auto sprinkler protection in the various mills. Secondary contributing causes. First, number of frame buildings, approximately 5 in the mill and mercantile districts. Note, especially hazardous buildings from conflagration stand were the Glass, Breed and Company, flour mills, the Loomis, Planning Mill, and Lumber Storage Building, and the Sinclair Chair Company. Oh, there's a little bit more. A little bit more. Do you want me to keep going? We're almost there.
That's what the back part.
Second, general light construction, including inflammable roofs in mill and mercantile districts. Third, lack of fire divisions. Fourth, mill district largely inaccessible from Riverside. Summarizing all contributing factors, one stands out, namely general weakness of public firefighting facilities. With good public fire protection and as a corollary to this good sprinkler system in the main mill buildings, the mill section of this town could hardly have been considered a conflagration district. For whereas construction was light and frame buildings perhaps predominated, areas were generally small and heights moderate, and while firewalls were lacking, buildings were not congested and were generally accessible to host streams. It is fairly safe to assume that with good public protection, supplemented by modern equipment of auto sprinklers and the principal mills, and assuming the fire to have passed beyond control in the Sinclair building, this conflagration could not have occurred. Loss of life, 1. Property loss, most reliable estimates are between $700,000 and $800,000. No, in ration of loss to total town valuation, this is among the most disastrous fires on record in this country.
This went by the Chicago fire, and went by the big one up in Illinois, somewhere up in that forest. It burned them cities and stuff back up in the same period of time. But this ranks right up there, and it passed some of the bigger fires that we, like the earthquake in San Francisco and stuff. And when you start looking at the total loss as to the tax base.
And the last thing is insurance loss placed at 50% of total loss or possible loss. So I don't know what that means.
No, I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
I've got, I've got some pictures that are still here. Oh, that one that's all caught. So if anybody wants to stop and look at them, they're here. And as they say, I'll be planning on doing something with my stuff because I'm getting to the point where I can't really do it that much more. And I have stuff that I dug. I got it from her. The good stuff you got to dig for. She told me one time. Remember that? And I was digging when they were digging down on the island, and I found one of the fire department. We assume it's fire department pipe pole hooks. That was buried. All it was the head. I found that. I found some other small stuff, plus what Bob Bowman gave me from the church. And then one day I saw this pistol, laying a single-shot pistol, and I started to research it. And thank God for Chuck Moyer. God bless him. He helped me look this up, and I still have it. It's a one-shot, single pistol used by security guards. And one of those guys lost this at a fire, at that fire, we believe, because it was after they went through with dozers and stuff, and they tore the one-story building down there. That's when I went in there on the weekend and was just walking, looking, and I found that. And we feel that during the height of the fire, one of those security guys lost it because it was a single shot, and it was not a toy, it was a real gun. And that's what they said in Chuck's information, is that's what was primarily used for. So.
And I just wanted to say too, people, there was not a drop of food in Phoenix to be had because that whole area where all the food was kept was gone. And so Mr. Woods, who was the meat market man, I don't know if he got hold of a farmer, got some kind of a carcass, and the next day he was set up in the other area away from the fire with a wooden ironing board type thing, cutting meat for people. And then other people started, Fulton and Syracuse started sending food out, but there was no food here, there was nothing. It really was a terrible time for people.
When Mark talks about that type of stuff, it was also people, if you weren't born and raised here or lived here and heard about this stuff, people are hard to believe. They can't believe that you could buy anything. You didn't have to go to Fulton. You didn't have to go to Syracuse. Anything you needed, you could buy in Phoenix before the fire. You need a saddle, you could get one made right here in town. You need a doctor, you had one. You need meat, you got it. You want a dress shirt, you got it. You got a coffin for your grave, you got it. Everything was here. Nobody had to leave. And if they left, it was to get a good ride on a trolley or something like that. But, you know, a lot of people don't believe it. They go, oh, couldn't have all that. Well, I have the list. If you look through the thing here and you look at the amount of businesses, look at the names of those businesses and see what those people are selling. And it was really awesome, you know, what they put out here.
And after the fire, to help to make more groceries, there were little neighborhood stores in people's houses. Now, I remember those. We'd stop there on the way home from school. There was one up on Jefferson Street. There was, I can't remember, Mrs. Mullins down here. Yeah, his was the last one. Yeah, but they were neighborhood, Morgan's. They were neighborhood stores, and they carried bread and milk, and I don't know if they had meat. I can't remember ever seeing meat there.
Passenger train that would pick you up on Birch Street.
Yeah, we did have a passenger train.
We got the pictures with Teddy Roosevelt on the back of one of the cars.
That's right.
When he was campaigning. And across the driveway where the VFW is now, there was a chair factory there.
Yeah,
And
well,
then,
that's where their chair factory moved
yeah,
to.
that's where they moved to after the fire, was right there in front of the VFW.
And there's still stuff written
Yes.
inside on the wall.
And in that parking lot, where some of the VFW buildings are, was the Kirk Hotel.
Yeah, that's right.
And the Kirk Hotel,
No, that was right at the end of the sunken fields at the school.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
the Kirk Hotel, and the Kirk Hotel just happened to be owned by the owner of the Phoenix Hotel, which both of them burned the same year, but probably with no correlation. But
Yeah,
they lost them both.
that Kirk was only 6 years old when it burned. Yeah.
No, there was a lot
We
going on.
need to stop.